Good day, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Unleash with FTEM, Unleash with From the Expert's Mouth. And today we have an expert whose expertise in the area is relevant to most of our audience, which is around the space of careers, skill sets, and how do you align yourself to the future of work. And before we get started into the bulk of our discussion, the audience would like to know about your background since you've been on your own and you've been in this space for more than a couple of decades, I would imagine. So, how did it all start, and what drew you into what you're doing today?
Well, I am an engineer by qualification, and then I've graduated from a college in Chandigarh called Punjab Engineering College, and then I did a management course at the Harvard Business School, so I know a bit about management and a bit of engineering. But in my life journey, I've probably not used any of that. I've been an entrepreneur. I started off many decades ago and I've built various businesses. I built a business initially before Google was launched. I was building something similar to Google on the telephone system,
Okay.
like a teleinformation service. And then I did a lot of work around in software. And then I launched an education company and we were doing what is now called vocational slash professional education. So we train hundreds of thousands of students all over the country and other parts of the world to access job opportunities. So the idea was to skill them in real world abilities to be able to access the job market. Now I'm running a next generation recruitment platform which is built on artificial intelligence and which helps people access work opportunities all over the world. So we have, sort of, since now the market has become so broad that anybody anywhere in the world can employ somebody anywhere in the world. So we have a lot of international companies, American companies, European companies, and of course also Indian companies looking for people in various types of roles, freelance, work from home, full-time jobs, etc., etc. So that's what I do for a living now.
Okay.
And
So,
that's very exciting because we have been working with AI for a long time, but now it's really exploded. Everybody understands AI better than they did even 6 months ago. So
right.
we are using a lot of AI tools to make life easier both for employers and for people looking for work.
Okay. So that's very interesting. So you started off in the, of course, in technology, in various businesses as an entrepreneur. Then got into the skilling space, and now you are into the recruitment space as well as the skilling space. So there might be a lot of synergy that you would see between these two businesses, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
absolutely. So we
Yeah.
put all the three together now:
Right.
technology,
Correct.
recruitment, and I must have recruited more than 50,000 people for my own companies over the last many years, and I must have placed more than 100,000 people in various companies.
Okay.
So yeah, I understand a bit about that space.
Right. Absolutely. So, who better than you to tell us about, how the landscape of skills has evolved over a period of time? I would imagine when you started this, vocational or stroke professional education business, this would have been in the 90s, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So a lot of water has flown under the bridge over all these years. And at least I believe there is no better teacher than history to tell us, how things have evolved and hence, how they will evolve in the future. So we'll come to the futuristic part of the discussion. But very interestingly, you mentioned about things that you were doing in those days when even Google was not around,
Hmm.
using, telephony as a medium
Yep,
to essentially bridge the gap of people's need to search for information, right? That is
absolutely,
what Google is doing, over all these years, and this
absolutely.
journey is only going to accelerate through use of advanced AI tools, etc.
So
But
that journey may end soon, by the way. Google's
right,
journey, Google's journey as Google may not last for very long.
right, yeah. But mankind's quest for information will continue, although it will be met through different technology platforms or different
Yeah,
mediums,
yeah,
probably.
yeah, yeah,
Right. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, but coming back to the skills part, how have you seen the landscape of skills evolve? And particularly in the mid 90s when you had started, what was the big gap that you saw in the market that you were trying to address? And has Have those things remained consistent over a period of time, or you've started addressing different opportunities over these years?
So it has changed dramatically over a period. When we started off, academia was, really not focusing on job related skills. So we had universities churning out, millions of these people who didn't know nothing about the world of work. And they had to be basically reskilled to be able to take up any job responsibility. So that was the situation in the 90s, and a lot of focus on communication, how you speak, how you carry yourself, focus on basic skills like, do you know how to access digital marketing, or do you know how to run the camera, for example, if you're a film producer, do you know how to edit, or basic skills.
Right.
And that was good enough to get you into a good company. Or if you had some basic business management skills, or if you had some technical skills, you would get a job. And if you knew how to talk, and that has changed dramatically. So basically, it was taking a graduate from a university and reskilling him for a year or so and placing him in a company. Universities were less relevant then, and they are totally irrelevant today. So, so they've sort of
Right.
lagged behind even more than
Yeah.
they were in the 90s. So in the
Right.
90s, you could still do a university education and get yourself a job without us.
Right.
But today, it's impossible unless
Right.
you build your skill sets yourself or you do something on your own. So I'm afraid universities have become more and more relevant over time,
Right.
and work is shifting more to skills that people learn on their own. The skills required in the future are going to be dramatically different from what they are today and what we can even imagine today, and in the very near future. In the
Right.
last, 2 years, a lot of jobs have become irrelevant. So, for example, people used to write content;
Right.
those are totally gone. The AI writes much better content than most content writers do.
Right.
People were making graphic designers; those
Yeah.
guys are gone for a toss with AI generated images. It's going to video now. So videos are being produced by AI.
Yeah.
Programmers, all the
Right.
basic functionality is written by the AI now. So
Right.
programming, unless you're a really, you're doing something different, a regular basic programming job will be taken over by computers in the
Right.
next year or so.
Yeah.
So a lot of these skills which we presume will get us a job will not in the future.
Right. No, absolutely. And I think, as you were mentioning, uh, under the hood, a lot of these technological developments particularly in the space of AI, have been taking place for many, many years. But I
Yeah.
guess the landmark event when it comes to democratization of AI or awareness of these things in the broader market was really 30th November when ChatGPT was launched. Although
Yeah.
under
So
the hood,
that's the
obviously,
time it
GPT.
sort of people became aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although obviously GPT-3 was around for some time, and earlier versions of generative
Yeah,
algorithms
GPT-2
were around.
was there, and there are lots of other tools besides GPT. GPT is a lollipop that everybody seemed to like for some
Right,
reason because it was natural language.
right.
But there are, thousands of tools literally out there which don't require natural language processing.
Obviously, there are going to be lots of job roles that we have seen over the last many years that have become commonplace in industry and society. Those will become irrelevant, or at least the number of such roles will reduce dramatically. Whenever these sort of tectonic shifts happen, it obviously spells disaster for people who are in their comfort zone and who are used to one particular skill set or work in a very narrow niche. So, how do these people deal with this kind of dramatic shift?
The fundamental shift is that people are used to a concept that I go to university, I get myself a degree, I learn whatever there is to learn, and then I go do a job for the next 30 or 40 years or whatever. Now, that premise is fundamentally irrelevant in today's world. So basically, you have to be a continuous learner. You have to learn every week of your life. If
Right,
you don't learn a new skill or a new technology this week, you're going to be left behind.
Right.
So whatever you learned in university is really irrelevant. Whatever you learned this week is going to work for you, or at least this month.
Right.
So it's a continuous learning curve for
Yeah.
everyone. So whoever is not doing that will be relevant. So training courses which were about a year old are irrelevant today, for example, because they
Yeah.
don't take into account a lot of technology shifts that have happened.
Right. Absolutely. I think this time frame also has collapsed quite a bit. If you compare the pace at which things were changing a couple of decades ago versus the rate of change right now, do you sense that dramatic shift and acceleration in terms of the
Absolutely.
rate at which things are changing?
Absolutely. It's exponential. It's
Yeah.
not progressive, it's exponential.
Right.
So we are going at neck break speed into new areas, and the times are being squeezed together more rapidly than we can imagine.
Right. So one such exponential change is, of course, happening in the world of intelligent technology and generating algorithms like AI. I think the other thing that you spoke about earlier was around the whole concept of metaverse, virtual reality.
So that's the
So,
next step, which will make everything that we have learned so far irrelevant.
right,
See, in the metaverse, people are laughing at Mark Zuckerberg today, but I believe he's on to the next big thing. More than 80% of our time is currently being spent on the internet, will
right,
be spent on the metaverse in the next 3 to 5 years, or maybe
right,
earlier.
right.
So everything will need to be relearned, reimagined,
Hmm.
and reformatted for the metaverse.
Right,
All of us will have our virtual reality avatars. That's where we spend most of our time. That's where the work will be. That's where social will be. So all these Google searches, I'm afraid your Instagram and your YouTubes will probably go out of the window in the next 5 years.
if history has taught us anything, if there is somebody who will reinvent, it will probably not be the incumbent players, it will probably be somebody else.
So in this case, it will probably be Mark Zuckerberg. So he's an
Right,
incumbent. Inside of that, there'll be a lot of creators. There'll be millions of creators inside of the world that is created. But the interesting thing is that the platform ownership is also the way the platform ownership is there is also changing.
hmm,
Now, the users have a lot more say in defining the rules and their data. So, for example, today Facebook owns all my data,
right,
all my pictures. Facebook uses for whatever they want to. In the metaverse, they will not have that power. So, I will have ownership of my content, and
right.
that shifts the balance of power dramatically in favor of the users.
And that's something which the other players are just not geared to do because their business model essentially relies on taking the user's data,
Yeah, and
lock,
using it
stock,
for.
and barrel.
So, what is the big tech doing? It's laughable actually, because all they're doing is advertising. In the entire, ecosystem, Facebook, Instagram, Google, everybody else, what's their
Right,
revenue model? To sell
right.
you something.
Yeah,
Now that's going to become completely irrelevant in the metaverse, because we are going to go back to the old world, because anyway everybody's connected to everybody else on the metaverse. So
right.
I don't need these guys to sell me stuff. So the whole concept of how we deal with our external environment will change dramatically.
Yeah. So when somebody has to look at building careers or learning the skills that are relevant for the future in these domains, what are the things that one should be learning at, and what are the kind of opportunities of skill development that one should be looking at?
See, fundamental shift, I'll explain to you more than what you're saying. The fundamental shift is away from marketing and selling to creation. So creators will have more power. Today, the marketing guys and the finance guys have all the power, and the creators are working for them. Fundamentally, that's what's happening in business.
Right,
So people who create and produce are actually working for people who market and finance the whole thing. That power equation will change fundamentally to creators becoming the prime movers and marketing and finance reporting into them. Creators will have more power, marketing
right,
finance will become irrelevant. So you need to find careers in creation rather than business management, finance,
right,
sales, etc., etc., etc.
right.
That's the first fundamental shift. You need to be able to create or do something with
Correct.
your skills.
Right.
That's what. So it could be graphic, it could be gaming, it could be metaverse. There are thousands of creation jobs that are available. You could create
Right.
NFT, whatever. So, firstly, you have to be a creator to be employable in the future. Two, possibly the kind of creation will change. The definition of creation fundamentally may alter.
Right. So one of the ways that you mentioned, creation is going to change is with the use of these generative algorithms, because content creation can happen automatically through algorithms. So where do human beings, or where do, youngsters of today, or even, people in mid-career, where do they see themselves?
When I say creators, it doesn't mean only creative people. It means anybody who's running a fintech product, for example. But if you're just doing accounting, that's automated. It's already automated. But if you're developing a fintech product, if you're developing a productivity tool, that's creativity. It's all about ideas. It's all about imagination. It's more about being yourself rather than being a cog in the wheel.
No, absolutely. And if we look at the development of technology over all these years, initially it was the era of rule-based automation. Then it
Right.
came the era of intelligent automation, and now it's the era of generative automation.
Better to take automation for granted. Automation is a given. My repetitive tasks are already going to be automated.
Right.
So what will I do when everything is automated? Is I will use my brains for the first time. Yeah, I'll have to.
Yeah.
I can't get away with doing repetitive tasks.
Yeah.
Use your brains and develop skills that are useful in any area. So if you're a
Right.
CA, you need to develop a financial product that works for people. You can't say I'll do your accounting because
Yeah.
accounting will be automated. Now
Correct.
you have to tell me what will you do with your knowledge of finance and accounting to make my life better. Can you save me money? Can you get me a better deal? What can you do for me? So that's the next level, which is actually better for human beings because human beings were not designed to be cogs in the wheel. That is the
Right.
industrial revolution that made everybody a cog in the wheel. But before
Absolutely.
that, everybody was an individual creator. See,
Right.
look at life before the Industrial Revolution. Everyone was an individual creator. I used to create master shoes, somebody would do pottery,
Right.
whatever, and everybody was happy. And then we had the Industrial Revolution. Everybody became a cog in the wheel of a
Right.
capitalist,
Right.
right? Now we're going
Yeah.
to back to pre-industrial revolution days where everybody has to be a creator again.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I think that's an analogy which will probably hit people very hard, and it will also show people the kind of creativity that is required, the essence of being a human. And as you said, for the first time, a lot many people will need to use their brains, and maybe the thinking part of their brain people are
Thinking,
not used
creative,
to.
originality, that's what's going to work. And not, I go to an office, I do my job, I come back in the evening. Nobody cares. And
Absolutely.
also the nature of employment is going to change. So it's going to be more and more freelance slash projects slash, things that you go on to a project, you contribute and you get
Mhm.
out. It's not that
Right.
you go and work somewhere for 25 years. That's not going to happen in the future.
Right. Yeah, and again, if we take your example of looking at the history prior to the Industrial Revolution, at that time, I don't think society was built around jobs.
There was no concept of a job. You would go and work for a master craftsman as an apprentice, and then
Right.
you would become a craftsman yourself. There was no concept of going and doing a job for a large corporation.
So you see that sort of economic model again coming into the fore. Of course, people have been talking about the freelance or the gig economy, but that has been mainly with respect to the creative professions. But I guess what you're saying is that this will kind of encompass most of the professions that we see today.
So I am talking about knowledge workers here. I am not talking about agriculture, industry, heavy industry, manufacturing. That will continue as it is. That will continue to be in a vanilla mode. So brands will become less relevant and more generic products will be produced. Whoever has the largest factory or most efficient way of producing will be able to produce. There will be people who will be employed there. But those will be the lower end of the work economy. That's not where you want to go. For knowledge workers, is life has become tougher and more exciting. All of us want to be white collar. We don't want to be a manual labor. So if you're manual labor, life is going good. It's going to go on the way it's going on. Probably some automation, little bit more automation. You'll progress a
Right.
little bit, but your salary levels will remain very rock bottom.
Right.
And if you're a knowledge worker, which most of our young people, middle class, everybody aspires to be, that's an area where you need to really pull up your socks right now.
So let's switch tracks from education and skills into recruitment and jobs, since that's another big portion of what you've been doing over the years. So you started this company called GoodSpace, somewhere along your journey. So tell us a
Yep.
little bit about that. What led to the creation of this separate entity, and what's been the journey on that front?
See, what happened with us was, which happens to any founder in any company, it's hard. We wanted to find, say, 5 salespeople because 3 guys had resigned and we have opened 2 more offices. Right now, we need to find these guys quickly, otherwise, business is suffering. And what do we do today? You go to HR and say, okay, we'll create a job description, we'll put an ad out in Naukri or LinkedIn or Monster or wherever they want to put it, Indeed.
Right.
Fine, do that. They'll get 5,000 applications, 3,000 applications, depending on the company,
Yeah.
thousands of applications. Then they take a week or two to sift through those applications and figure out who's the top 50 guys to be called for interview. Then they'll set up the interview, another 2 weeks are gone. Then we'll have 9 managers interviewing for a whole day. Out of the
Right.
50 people they called, 25 will not even turn up. Right? This is a story which repeats itself in every office every day across the country, across the world. Then out of the 25 guys, I will sort of find the best five. I've not found the optimal, but still, okay, we need these people, so let's do with whatever we have. Then they'll take another month to join. Then on the joining date, only two will show up. 3 guys will say we don't want your job anymore. The 2 guys will say we want 3 more weeks to join. By the time your
Right.
business is collapsed. So
Right.
there's extreme frustration. I went through this cycle, maybe 50 times, 60 times, 100 times.
Right.
And I was totally frustrated that there has to be a better way than this. This is
Right.
crazy.
Right.
And also from the point of view of your, person who's looking for the job.
Right.
He applies for a job, and then there is some junior HR guy calling him who doesn't know his front side from his backside. He irritates you. Then you
Right.
go through this process for months and you don't know what's happening. There's no response. So all the good guys have dropped out,
Right.
and you're only dealing with the guys who are really desperate, who have nothing
Yeah.
else to do. All the good guys have probably dropped out in this process because the process has already taken you 3 months.
Right.
So it's very frustrating from the point of view of somebody looking for work, because I've been on both sides of the table. So I understand frustrations on both sides. So this whole process is not working. So we, sat down one day and said, there has to be a better way of doing this. This is
Right.
crazy. This
Yeah.
is not working. So we tried to develop a tool, and which we have now, which can get you instantly within 24 hours, 48 hours, a response and a job, or yes or a no, quickly.
Right.
And then it's very expensive for companies. We end up spending almost a year's worth of salary even before we have recruited the guy in the process.
Right.
It's so expensive.
Yeah.
So we want to cut down costs, make it faster, smoother, make it work for both people. And these job sites actually were, invented 20 years ago, 30 years
Right.
ago as a replacement for newspaper advertising. So if people were
Absolutely.
advertising in the classifieds and then they
Right.
converted to Naukri or Monster, all the power at that point was with the employer.
Right.
The employer was dictating the terms. Today, all the power is with the employee, or at least it's shifted substantially.
Right.
So there is equal power on both sides. But these search engines are built on the philosophy that employers have all the power, so it doesn't work for anyone.
Right.
So now we built something which gives equal power to both and works for both. And
Right.
works faster, more efficiently. We're using AI, we're using various things. Like something very interesting we use is called a goodness score. See, what is it that an employer really wants to know about a candidate? Is he honest? Is he reliable? Is he friendly? Is he a
Right.
good team worker? Is he kind? Will he fit my company's the way we think and my team?
Right.
That you cannot find out from an interview, from a job search, even from an interview you can't find out, even from your CV you can't find out. You can't find that
Correct.
at all. And that is
Correct.
what you discover after 6 months.
Right.
And it is too late by that
Yeah.
time. So
Right.
you got a square peg in a round hole. So
Right.
what we developed is a system where all these personality traits, a person takes community feedback
Hmm.
from his own friends, his own associates, his boss, his supervisors, his college professors, whatever,
Right.
and builds a score which tells him that out of these 7, 8 personality traits, which are his top three traits, as people see it.
Right.
Now, what I may think I'm very friendly, but if 50 people in my community think I'm not,
Right.
probably that's not my strength.
Right.
Probably they think I'm more truthful and reliable than
Right.
friendly. So if I discover my top three personality strengths,
Hmm.
from community feedback, and we also have a lot of other algorithm around it, which takes it from how you behave and what you've done in various places inside of the engine. For example, we are asking, would you like to donate blood? Would you like to work for charity? Would you like to contribute to charity? We ask these questions, innocuous questions at various points in time to get
Right.
more feedback about what kind of a person this is. So we built this score and the top three personality strengths. And this is invaluable
Right.
to both the employer, because if I'm recruiting a salesperson, I need him to be friendly, I need him to be a team worker, and I probably need him to be kind.
Right.
But if I'm recruiting a programmer, I need him to be reliable, I need him to be honest, I need him to be precise. Every personality trait has a value in a different role.
Correct.
So once we define these personality traits, and which we have seen we can quite accurately, and this guy knows, then the fitment in the job and the company is far better. And this is
Right.
something that nobody has been able to do so far. And this is critical, crucial to the employment process.
Right. Yeah, I think these are the factors which make or break somebody's stint in a company. These are the
Absolutely.
things that really matter. Absolutely. And it's the interview process and the resume,
You can't find this. You can't
they're
find
just
out.
not designed for this.
Yeah.
This is awesome and fascinating, and I'm sure a lot of people will find value in this. So we'll give the link to this tool and
Yeah.
your venture in the
We
description
can
and
we
the
can do
comment.
something very interesting. If they upload their CV, we can make their entirely our AI extracts all the
Right.
information from there, and we
Right.
can create a very interesting profile for them. The AI even writes a very nice bio for them and make them look far more attractive than they can on their own. Then we can do counseling, career counseling. The AI is also doing mock interviews now. So suppose you have to go for a job interview, you can say,
Right.
"Can you run me a mock interview for this position in this company?" And
Right.
the AI can actually ask you questions which you could expect from the company and
Right.
prepare yourself for the interview.
Right.
Or you can say, I'm confused about my career. Could you give me some advice on career? And it's also designed to do that.
Right.
And on the other side, for hirers, it can just write your job descriptions. You don't need to write every job description. Just describe what kind of job and write a nice job description for you. It can
Right.
do search where it will search from what kind of experience industry you need to find you the right people, which is not
Right.
possible on regular job search sites.
Absolutely. I think this has got tremendous value. And going back to what you were saying earlier about the need to think, I guess this is a good example of how just, some thinking from first principles can help you create a new business model or a new venture. It's not that you
Absolutely.
have to be creative in terms of, your
Exactly.
artistic skills or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah,
You
yeah.
just need to be
Yeah.
cognitively creative.
You have to solve a problem. You
Right.
have to find a problem
Right.
that exists and then go and solve it.
So, talking about problems, a lot of people are in a big soup these days because of, massive amount of firing. And of course, apart from the people who are directly impacted, it has psychologically impacted a lot of other people in the industry as well, particularly those who are in jobs in big tech or otherwise. Since you run a recruitment company, what are some of the big mistakes that you see people making in their career decisions, or how they go about approaching jobs, and what would be some pieces of advice that you would give to them in this journey?
See, there is one word: shift to freelancing, shift to freelancing, and shift to freelancing.
Okay.
So, freelancing is not only in the traditional sense, but you could do projects. Don't think of work like a my bab company employing you for the next 300 years.
Right.
Think of work as what have I done, what have I got, and don't get married to your company. Don't get
Right.
married to your job. Get married to your skills and get
Right.
married to your ability to produce. So if you keep that primary, you will never be out of work. You may be out of
Right.
a job, but you'll never be out of work because if
Right.
your skills are in demand, then they are in demand.
Absolutely. I think that's a golden piece of advice and kind of cuts across so many different career streams and functions. No
Absolutely.
matter where you are, this will still help
And
you.
the other thing that is very interesting is that the barriers of geography have suddenly shifted. A programmer in the US gets paid 100,000 for the job that the programmer in India gets paid $10,000. He gets
Right.
paid 10 times. There is no logic or reason for that, just because he's sitting in a different geography. So this was a disadvantage when people were running with by sheer geography, which is so unfair and so stupid. So if the same programmer goes to US, he gets paid 10 times more. What's the logic of that? So now what's happened with the current work from home, freelance, etc., that gap is started getting bridged. But on the metaverse, for example, there is no country, there is no race, there is no male, female, there is no black and white, there is no religion, there is nothing. So all these factors which were impediment to growth for most people in India and in the less developed parts of the world have suddenly disappeared. So
Mm.
that is a major shift which a lot of people are not thinking about. Why are you looking for a job in Bangalore? Why are you not looking for a job in Silicon Valley? Why are you not looking for a job in Europe? Why are you looking at these five companies in Bangalore or Delhi? The
Yeah.
barrier is melted because now
Right.
companies are used to work from home. So
Right.
what difference does it make whether you work from home from San Francisco or Meerut?
Right.
The
Right.
internet connection is the same, work is the same. So that is what people need to start thinking about. That there is no geographical barrier, there is no barrier of race, caste, color, creed, male, female. These barriers have sort of started
Right.
disappearing.
Correct.
And going forward in the metaverse, they will completely disappear.
Yeah. And the work experience will become seamless, just like you were working from a physical office together, the same
Absolutely.
experience you will get inside the
Absolutely.
metaverse.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it is not as if it is a second choice to be working from home. It will be the
Yeah.
primary
Yeah.
choice.
So
Right.
once these barriers disappear, you are people from India and this part of the world are in a far better place than most people. So if you're in America already in Silicon Valley
Right.
and you're getting 150,000 to do a stupid programming job, you should be very worried.
But if fear grips you, it kind of paralyzes your ability to think and to think creatively. Yeah. So we've spoken about education, skills, jobs, freelancing. And I think in that kind of continuum, the next thing is really entrepreneurship. We haven't spoken explicitly about it, but I couldn't help but notice that you've been in this entrepreneurial space for so many years now, about 3 decades, I would imagine. And you would have seen a lot of people kind of struggling with these sort of choices, maybe getting into entrepreneurship and it's not for them, or not being able to recognize their entrepreneurial skills. So how does one go about figuring out whether one should be in a job or freelancing or entrepreneurship?
So whatever my entrepreneurship journey was is completely irrelevant today, where the world is changed.
Right.
Right. So I don't think anybody can learn anything from it, from anybody's entrepreneurship journey, because the world has changed.
Right.
The playground is different. In our times, entrepreneurship was all about being able to sell. And to a large extent, that's how people think of it today, even now. But in the new world, that's irrelevant. The sales is a given. If your product is good and your service is good or whatever you're offering is good, the sales is taken care of by the system, by an
Right.
automated system. Your focus as an entrepreneur should only be identifying a problem that exists and finding a good solution for it, which will work for your users. So if I'm able to satisfy a set of users with my solution, then the whole world is open to me for that solution. So entrepreneurship has shifted. I don't need to have money. I don't need to have marketing skills. I don't need to have any of that. I just need to have a good idea and go and work on it and produce a solution that works for people. While it is simple in many ways, it's far harder. In our case, we could bluff, bluster, sell whatever we wanted to and get away with it. Even if the
Right.
service was subpar, we could get away with it. And we start with that and then keep on improving. That is
Right.
not possible anymore. You
Hmm.
need to satisfy your customer, get a result, and if you can do that, the whole world is open for you.
So that's a complete paradigm shift.
Yeah, I went to a university and they wanted me to do a class on entrepreneurship, and I was like really surprised at what they were trying to teach. So I told the professor that better not to teach this than to, you are leading the student down the garden path by
Right.
teaching this kind of entrepreneurship to them.
Yeah.
So if you teach this, these guys are sunk. They will come out
Right.
with the wrong ideas.
Yeah. I think the fundamental problem is that people kind of refuse to think because they are just applying the same template and copy pasting it forward. And unfortunately, this applies to universities, academia, the business world, everywhere that we see. And it's just one basic cognitive fault that, I loved what you said. We just refuse to think.
Yeah.
If we just use our brains, and we are endowed with those powers, but if you don't practice it, if you don't use it often, it kind of just is relegated into the background, your neocortex or thinking part of the brain, and you're just living your life like a zombie or a robo at best.
So most people are caught up with what other people are thinking. It doesn't matter what other people are thinking,
Right.
because how will that help you or not help you? You need to think for yourself, and if you can't think for yourself, then it's sad. And most Indians can. I've seen our college graduates can, but the college teaches them not to think, which is sad.
Absolutely. I mean, we can get into another tangent of what the education system makes a child from, let's say, 6 years of age to 26 years of age go through, and after that, I think it's a miracle if people still retain their original ability to be
So
creative and
in my view, they're causing nothing but damage. Damaging his original ability to think. Now, what do you need? You need to, if you need to have information that's available, why do you need to go to a university to get it? If you
absolutely.
want somebody to teach you something that's available online, why do you need to go to a university and listen to a professor of, say, suppose you're learning finance, and why do you need to go and learn finance from this guy in some place in, say, Delhi University,
Right.
when you can learn from the best guy in the world online? What is the logic? If you really
So many
want to learn
things.
finance, but people are going there to get a stamp, a degree, which is meaningless. Nobody
Right.
cares what your degree is anymore.
Yeah. I think it's probably the power of the brand, and the brand is nothing but society's perception of an institution or a
But in the
degree
real
or a
world, nobody cares anymore,
yeah.
and they know it. Suppose you got 99.27% marks, and you graduated from, say, Stephens College. Who cares? Does it get
Right.
you a job?
Yeah.
Does it make you any better a human being? I
Right.
don't know why they're still doing that. It
Yeah.
makes no sense.
Right. Yeah.
They work so hard in their class 12, get 99 points, something, something marks
Right.
to get admission in St. Stephen's or whatever, Hindu or whatever. Why?
Right.
Why are you
Yeah.
doing this to yourself?
Yeah, and if viewers are listening this and they've caught on to this, the core point of what you're mentioning is 99.27% marks a reflection of your ability to be creative, to create, to think. The answer is none of the above. It's a reflection of none of these,
No,
and
but they know that
why go
it's
after
not
it?
going to work and they still do it. That
Yeah.
is the definition of insanity. You know, when you
Right.
know the out, it's not hidden, right? When
Right.
you go to Stephens and you get a degree that is worthless, is known,
Right.
but you still want to do it.
Right.
So that's insanity. That's
Yeah.
not even bad logic.
Right. Yeah, illogical at best and insanity at worst. It's probably somewhere in that continuum, but it can't be better than illogical. Yeah. So great, Vinay. I'm sure the audience and everybody who's listening into this will learn a lot, not just about skills, the state of the ecosystem, jobs, careers, recruitment, etc., but a much much more fundamental ability to think from first principles. We are all human beings. We are the most gifted creatures on the face of this earth, and that is because of our ability to think creatively, to do things which have not been done before, to change the past patterns, and that is the essence of humanity. So I think if there is one takeaway, of course there are a lot more takeaways from what you mentioned, Vinay, but that is my biggest takeaway, which I would love for the audience to take home and to bring about a change in their lives. I'm sure if they apply many of the principles that you've just enunciated, it can bring about a radical shift in the way they live and the way they work, and their happiness quotient. So thank you so much, Vinay, for sharing
Thanks.
your gems and pearls of wisdom with us.
Thank you so much. Pleasure being with you.
Yeah, same
Thank
here.
you.
And for the audience, some of the links that Vinay spoke about will be given in the description and the comments below. We'll try and convert some of the pointers that Vinay gave in the form of a post and publish it on our website as well, from theexpertsmouth.com. And if you want to listen to more such pearls of wisdom from other people on our channel, then do check out the Unleash with FTEM playlist, where you'll find many, many more such episodes across
I would
various
like
different topics.
to add one parting piece of advice.
Yeah, sure, Vinay.
Go buy yourself a VR headset today and start exploring the metaverse.
Yeah, that's good. And just for the record, this episode is being recorded in February 2023. So you can, whenever you're looking at this episode way into the future, when some of these things may become so commonplace that you may be wondering why Vinay even said this, everybody has a VR headset. This is just for the record that this is in February 2023. Right. On that note, Vinay, thanks a lot, and
Thank you.
hopefully we'll be able to retrofit or adjust this episode also so that it becomes more metaverse friendly for the viewers.
Yes, yes.
And or maybe we'll do another one sometime in the future in the metaverse. So until then, thank you, Vinay, so much, and thanks everybody, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much.